Hi, everyone. I'm Ziyun Deng from Human Development Psychology program. And today, I'm going to talk about one critical thing about critical period. So let's just do a survey. How many of you, just by show of hands, have heard about this term, critical period? Thank you. And I want you to show, just by show of hands, do you agree it's much easier to learn foreign language when you were younger? Do you agree or not? Thank you. I'm 45, too old to become a pianist. Do you agree? Thanks. If you steal a loaf of bread at 5, you are more likely to find yourself in jail when you are 30. Do you agree? You cannot earn a gold medal in Olympics if you start gymnastic training after 10 years old. Do you agree or not? Thank you so much. You guys did a wonderful job. So what I have just described is a very important concept in human development psychology that's called critical period. So what is critical period? The definition is it's a period that's very critical. And it's a period, it's a phase in lifespan. It's critical because in this phase of lifespan, you have a very heightened sensitivity. And that means you are very sensitive to stimuli from the environment, from outside world. And this stimuli are very, very important and compulsory for you to learn a particular skill. If during this window, during this phase of lifespan, there's no stimuli, no appropriate stimuli you received, the consequences are it's very difficult, less successful, or even impossible for you to develop some functions later in life. So this concept of critical period has been studied for over several years, and I actually found this definition on Wikipedia, and there's some study on child development and in other areas. So for now, I can wrap up and go off stage, and that's the end of my talk. But there's something problematic about the thing I just talked about. What is missing? That's actually one thing I learned in human development psychology in the past 9 months, 8 months and a half. So what we need is empirical evidence. I just described to you some anecdotes and I give you a concept. So what's the empirical evidence for that? So these two guys, Hubble and Wiesel, did a wonderful study on critical period. And actually, these two guys earned a Nobel Prize in 1981 because of the critical period studies they've done. So you can guess, what did they study? The answer is actually can find, if you look around the room, you can find an image of this subject. It's a kitten. It's actually on my shirt. That's why I wear this shirt today. So they did a study on a kitten. It's very, very beautiful, pretty kitten. But what I would describe in a moment, you might feel a little bit uncomfortable. What they did is they found a newborn kitten, and the newborn kitten hasn't opened its eyes. So they suture one eye of this kitten, and they leave the other eye okay. So they just let this kitten live for 3 months. So guess what's happening after 3 months? So we know, like, these two guys are actually studying not psychology, but vision. So the visual pathway working this way. So you see from your left eye, and there's corresponding brain area that's receiving signals and processing the information you receive from your left eye. And for your right eye, there's another corresponding area in your brain that's processing this information. So in the kitten study, 3 months later, the consequences of one eye vision deprivation is they study the neurons in the brains of the kitten. So first, they do an electrophysiological analysis, means they shock the kitten and study the cell's neurons response. And they study the brain area of the receptive eye, the eye with vision, and they found the size and basic organization is okay. But then they studied the brain area corresponding to the deprived vision eye. They found the activities of the neuron is very low, and that there's very few single cell responses. And then they do a histological analysis, means they do an anatomy of this kitten, study the cells, and they found that for the brain areas of the deprived vision eye, the cells just shrank the cells don't look the same anymore. It just shrank. So enough said about this poor kitten. So keeping this study in mind, let's revisit the little survey we just did in the beginning of my talk. And when we talked about foreign language learning, piano playing, physical, and moral dilemma. And actually, the term we use, critical period, is all from this kitten study. What are the problems? The problems you can see on the left side of this slide, where this is the original study on critical period. And on the right, it's a very complicated world. And there were a lot of things missing, and there are a lot of studies and a lot of research, and we're not aware of. But I think that's totally okay. But what is dangerous is that you have some fragments of anecdotes, and suddenly you get a noun phrase to describe that, and you just get it. So what I will say, one critical thing about the critical period is be careful when moving from kitten to kids. Thank you, guys.